Hi there, everybody. Sorry, we had a little bit of technical difficulty this morning. Um, I'm Kris Dutchak, and I'm here with a new show called Inspired Energy. The idea behind the show is to bring people on who have had experiences or knowledge that could possibly inspire and help others. So, the topics that I've chosen to start and kick this off with is near death experiences, as I have several people close to me who have had them. Today, my first guest is Gary Murk, who most of you know. He's a phytoaromacologist. He works out of Clarity and does soul prints, eye vortex healings in the pyramid, and some alchemized earthing, as well as we're going to be working with a sweat lodge and other things coming up in the near future. But Gary, thank you, first of all, for doing this. It is a subject that a lot of people are, number one, curious about.
Yeah.
And number two, there are people out there that have probably had them that have never spoke about them. Sorry. So I thank you for being brave enough and have courage enough to come on and share that with people. So I don't know what's wrong with my voice this morning, but anyways. So first of all, maybe you can start off and tell us exactly, because I know you've had multiples. So maybe you could start off and tell us a little bit about how many you've had, and then start with the first one and what you remember.
How many I have, I really couldn't tell you. I mean, there's been so many situations in life. You've seen a few of them. Okay. It's hard to really explain as to how many. Okay. I've had numerous amounts that I shouldn't be here.
What's the first one that you remember?
9 years old.
Mm-hmm.
At the age of 9 years old, I was with my brother and a couple of friends, and we were playing with a hockey puck along the South Saskatchewan River, middle of winter time. And the puck went out to the edge to the ice, and nobody wanted to go get it. So I'm
one brave soul.
One brave soul went out to get it. And as I went to reach down for the puck, the ice broke. And that's one of the reasons I don't like cold water.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, cold water in me, it hits a memory.
Mm-hmm.
And it was just a total sense of fear, a great deal of fear.
Mm-hmm.
Because one, I was going underneath the water and trying to come back up onto the ice, and I couldn't grab onto anything. And my brother and my friends at the first moment were laughing because I can imagine that it was something funny. It's like you're walking, all of a sudden, boom, you disappear.
Your kids, right?
Kids, right? And my brother is 1 year younger than I am. And we were never trained or taught anything about survival skills or how to save somebody or anything like that. And in a flash, I could see my brother had gone down to the ice, and he shimmied out, and he reached out and he tried to pull me in.
Mm-hmm.
And the other two were standing on the side of it, just watching.
Mm-hmm.
And he managed to pull me out of the water. And I was going sort of in and out. The sense of coldness was so cold that I can't even explain how cold it was. And my clothing was already freezing. Okay, I could feel that it was very rigid.
Mm-hmm.
And as they were dragging me, they dragged me all the ways home. Mm-hmm. So 3 blocks away from the South Saskatchewan River, they took me all the ways home. And
okay, take your time.
I felt something pulling me, like I was being pulled somewhere else. And there was a sense of total darkness at first, and then this warmth. It was like it was warming me, trying, taking off this coldness.
Mm-hmm.
And I was in a moment, I felt this absolute sense of comfort, like there was no fear.
Mm-hmm.
There was no, again, it wasn't cold. And then a light.
Mm-hmm.
Just a light.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing, we sometimes these envisions that there's these pearly gates and somebody's going to be standing there. Some of the stories that we've been told.
It depends on your beliefs, right?
True.
People would kind of see what
Yeah.
their background or beliefs are.
I grew up with Roman Catholic, as a Roman Catholic. So there was a lot of the religious beliefs that were already pretty much installed.
Mhm.
But this light was a silhouette. And just a soft voice saying that, everything's going to be okay. And you're going to be okay. You're going to be fine. And I'm angry in one way because I'm not understanding what's going on.
Because you're pretty young.
Yeah, and that, it's not easy to speak about this.
No.
Because many times that I have, it's always been, you've been judged, you've been, you're crazy, you're a lunatic, it's not possible, all of this.
But that's why you're around safe people now, and that's why we're bringing this out in the open. And like I said, there's several other people.
Yeah.
Like we have about a half a dozen more guests to come on. So you're not alone, and you're not crazy. This is something that really happened to you.
Yeah.
And it's a valid thing, and people need to understand that, right? And so I appreciate you coming on and sharing it. So did you have a sense of who or what that was at that age?
To be honest with you, it felt as if I was in the presence of Christ.
Mm-hmm.
I'd always believed in him.
Mm-hmm.
Always. I still do.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, if there's a mentor in my life, I look at the way that he walked and what my understanding is, not what people are telling me he is.
Mm-hmm.
Because in this essence of this silhouette, it looked like him.
Mm-hmm.
But yet, we don't really know. We see things, what we've gone through news and what people explain.
Mm-hmm.
But this sense of this over embodying light.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'm told that I'm going back.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm arguing, why? Why do I have to go back?
Because it feels so good to be where you're at, right?
I was, we feel happiness at times, but this sense was more than that. It was a joy from within that it just warmed.
Yeah. They call it bliss, right? Usually, like euphoria.
I've had
bliss.
blissful moments, but
Yeah.
this was
Yeah.
sort of beyond it.
Over the top.
And arguing as to, I don't want to go back.
Mm-hmm.
I want to stay where I was, because I just felt this divine peace, love. I felt
Totally accepted, unconditional love, all of those things. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
an essence of love that
We don't get here.
no.
We all should.
We
by
all
the way,
should.
and we should all be working towards that. But right now, it's not there. So.
And then it was just like a lightning bolt, and just sort of like, boom. What I understand, what I know was I was put into a tub of ice water to
Mm-hmm.
sort of thaw me out.
Mm-hmm.
And my mother had called the doctor. The doctor was on his way.
Mm-hmm.
Severe colds afterwards.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of this, but there was something that shifted.
Mm-hmm.
Something changed.
Mm-hmm. Did he speak to you and tell you anything? This voice, like when you were there,
He said I had a greater purpose.
and that's why
And
you
I
were going back.
and I never understood it. In fact, I fought with it.
Mm-hmm.
I fought with it for a very long time because I didn't quite understand it. And speaking about it, it was, I just stopped speaking about it.
Yeah.
I hid everything, but I could sense things more.
Mm-hmm.
I could hear things that I thought it was like I was going crazy for a while.
Mm-hmm.
And there was a lot of turmoil in my life at that time, or in our life.
Mm-hmm.
We were living in this home that had this eerie dirt basement. And it was like a nightmare. There was a washroom right beside this wooden stairway that would take us downstairs. And every time we would come to this washroom, it was like this, just like something just
Presence.
ugly presence.
Mhm.
And there was a number of incidences. My sister was always sleepwalking, and we'd find her in closets. And my brother was sleepwalking. We'd find him with things dangerous in his hands. I had lots of nightmares.
Mhm.
I remember lots of nightmares about darkness and things that were extremely scary.
Mhm.
And there was a moment where we were downstairs, and I was with this rock tumbler machine, which is, you've heard a
Yeah.
little bit of the story.
Yeah.
And my sister was by this furnace, and this was like this big furnace with this steel.
Like in Home Alone.
Yeah. Like in Home Alone.
That was really scary. It had the big mouth.
Yeah. Big, yeah. It's like,
Yeah.
it looked like a teeth.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden she had screamed, and something pushed her,
Mhm.
and it split her thumb
Mhm.
all the ways down.
Mhm.
And it was thought that I had pushed her.
But
That
it
I
wasn't
would-
you.
it
It
wasn't-
was the presence.
Yeah, it was
Yeah.
something that was in that basement.
Mhm.
And that lasted until we left that home.
Mhm.
Once we left it, everything shifted.
So how did that change you as a 9-year-old from being this happy, carefree like kid going to get the puck out of the ice and then being thought out and put back in your body? And now you say you're hiding everything and you're feeling all these things that you never felt before, and you're seeing these things that you never saw before.
Yeah.
So how was that being a child and having that experience?
It pushed me deeper into myself, into this sense of independence. And I think many know that of me.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm very independent. I don't reach out to ask for help, even when I know I should.
Mhm.
And that's kind of what it did to me. I mean, I closed off
Mhm.
from a lot. I tried to push a lot of it away and say, no, it's just an
Right.
imagination. It's okay. You thought you were crazy at times.
Mhm.
And it drove me into such a rebellious
Mhm.
side of me
Mhm.
that I wouldn't take anybody's, this has to be done. No, I fought against it.
Mhm.
I went against every rule. I went against anything that I didn't feel free with, to the point where I got thrown out of the Roman Catholic school system.
Surprise!
I this poor nun, I had seen this program about Darwin's theory,
Mhm.
and it it was like curious. And I went to school the following morning, and I been religious in the first class, and I held my hand up, and I said, I believe everything that we're talking about, but what do you think about this Darwin's theory?
Mhm.
And if you had seen the look on her face, it was like I was a demon.
Mhm.
And the yardstick, and grabbed me by the hair and took me down to the principal's office. And it was, I got the strap, I got the yardstick, but my mother stood up for me.
Mhm.
When we went to the school, and my mother was 5'5", a little, slim like me and everything else, but a powerhouse.
Mhm.
Like, you didn't fool around with her.
Yeah, most mothers, you don't mess with their
And
kids.
oh no, not with her.
Yeah.
Not at all. And so while I got removed from that school, I was told that I was a bad influence on the other students.
Well, because you start questioning things. You
I
start
questioned
questioning-
religion. I
Yeah.
questioned the rules. I questioned a lot of it.
Mhm.
In fact, I even questioned, the purpose of going to church, in the
Mhm.
sense of, because I could feel him always.
The Christ. Yeah.
Always. And it was like, why do I have to go to this place to feel what I already believe in, what I already know?
Yeah.
And there was a number of other incidences throughout life, accidents that,
Mhm.
a car accident later on. We were T-boned going to a rock concert, AC/DC rock concert. And the T-bone folded the car
Mhm.
in almost like this. And a friend of mine that was in the car, how we survived, I don't know, because we were slammed really, really hard.
So that make you start believing that you did have a higher purpose?
It's
Because that's
something.
the second one.
Yeah, there was something like, either I'm a cat with lots of lives, or it just didn't make sense.
Yeah.
and lots of other incidents as well followed there afterwards. Motorcycle accident, where it was like I was picked off my motorcycle and just dropped.
Some
And
angelic presence protecting you.
yeah, in that way. And I pushed a lot of what I was sensing, the voices that I could feel. I could hear it's almost like I could hear their emotions. I'd be in the presence of people, and that may be part of why I pulled away from, being in groups, because I didn't want to be around this. And at times it was like, no, there's something wrong. And as I got older, I started to realize something with it, that there was something that had a sense of magic, but yet still a sense of fear. And just pushed it away for a long time, enough that I was strong enough to sort of keep it away from me.
Right.
And in around my mid-20s, there was other issues going on with relationships and a lot of turmoil that was there. And I ended up going into volunteering with 12-step programs. So, all types of 12 steps. It's not just, it's alcohol it was all different types, from codependency to drugs to sex to alcohol, all of it. And within these 12-step programs, I was always chosen to deal with the hardest of the cases. Yeah, it's like,
why do you think that was?
Because I am. I'm a pretty hard-headed soul.
Well, you have to, in order to see it, you have to have been there or see it or be it, right?
Stubbornness. And Kris knows me for my stubbornness, believe me. Okay. And I found myself listening to many stories, like thousands of stories over a period close to 20 years of working with these groups. And, to hear their experience, some of them near-death experiences as well. And I guess that's pretty well part of what that purpose was to be that, not the counselor. I hated the term counselor. Like Gary's a counselor. No, I'm not a counselor. I'm just a human. I'm an imperfect human. I'm growing. I'm learning. I'm becoming more in tune with who I am as a person. And it was their stories that, helped and forced me to be more stronger in this sensation of how I could feel things, how I could sense things as if it was before it would happen.
Right. So
precognition, deja vu. I mean, it's like, I've been here. Okay. I've seen this. I know you. I feel you. It's like we've met somewhere before. Memories of water. A lot of incidences that came forward always surrounded water. If I'd be swimming, this sensation of the fear of the coldness and the depth.
Oh, from the first experience.
So always this notion of fear of something that's below me that I can't reach. Okay. And always the fear of being pulled down into it. And there was a number of other experiences that, I can go on and on and on. Electrocution. I don't know how many times I've been electrocuted.
So were you ever, a couple times here.
Yeah.
So were there ever another contact or when you went, was there another contact with that Christ consciousness and a reaffirming of the message that you're here to do greater things?
Yeah.
Can you tell us a little bit about that? Because we all haven't experienced those sorts of things. So I totally believe that all of this stuff happens. I haven't experienced it myself that I know of, but I totally believe that all of this is real.
There was, during the time that I was working with these groups, there was an invite to go see this lady that was a channeler. And she supposedly could see your guides. How many guides there were. There was the notion that we have up to 12 guides around us. And as we were coming up to her place, everybody was being welcomed in, and she pushed me off to the end. And she said, you wait there because you're the last one. You will be the last one that I will do this reading on. And as she was doing the readings on a lot of the people that were with us, I was already familiar with their stories because I had listened to their stories. Right. So I was skeptic. I'm fairly skeptic on a lot of things. But as she was, okay, I'm stubbornness. Okay. And so as she was reading their stories and their guides, I could see that, no, this lady was legit. She had this capacity and was, telling stories of their mothers, their fathers, their guides. Some of them had angels around them. And when she came to me, she said, you have one guide.
Wow.
And only one guide. And he's always with you. And I just started to cry.
Mm-hmm.
And she says, you know who he is. Mm-hmm. And I said, it's something I still fight with, because why me? Like, why am I in his presence? Is it because of my belief in him? Because of, the way I look to him, the way that I have love to him, and to understand that his story was not about, the chaos that was going on. It was about this promotion of love and walking in love and breathing in love, and this acceptance of all human beings, no matter their color, their creed, their walk of life, the selfishness.
But don't you think that's why you got a glimpse into being connected to others and seeing and feeling and all of that, what they were, because that was what he was, right?
Yeah.
He was everything, right?
He was the purest essence of compassion.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't believe in the Christ, you should start believing in him.
But I think, again, we're talking about this again because now we're faced with chaos like he was back then, right? Like all of this COVID stuff that's going on, and the government and the corruption and all these different things. So in order to deal with it, we're asked to be like him. Yeah. Right? So that makes sense to me.
Yeah, this frequency of love, very few, I think, can grasp really the frequency of what it is. Mm-hmm. I use this term and I say, let others voluntarily evolve. Mm-hmm. And it taught me a great deal. Mm-hmm. My capacity to love is unlimited. Mm-hmm. I will love, even if I don't have the trust in place. Mm-hmm. I will let that love be. It's not about me. It's about love of another. Mm-hmm. And showing that through everything that I've ever done, I've always shown that capacity to love you, to accept you, to see you beyond what you are on your outside world.
Right.
Okay. And as much as it's hurt me and many, many, many times, it hasn't stopped me from believing in the power of it.
But that's also where you're supposed to use the discernment of spirit, right?
This is about.
Yeah. Exactly.
This is one. Yeah, this is one of my weaknesses, and one of my weaknesses is that I love to a capacity that even if you've hurt me, mm-hmm. I still love you. Mm-hmm. I may have had my trust broken, mm-hmm. okay, but it doesn't stop me from not loving you, mm-hmm. because I'm not loving you to own you. I'm not loving to have possession of you. Mm-hmm. I'm loving for you to see love. Mm-hmm. To be part of love.
Well, to see what that looks like.
Look at the 5D festival this weekend, mm-hmm. and everything that transpired there. Mm-hmm. It was all about this power of love. Mm-hmm. Welcoming people into my arms who I don't know. Okay, doing a third eye kiss with a man, doing a hug that you can feel heartbeat of the other. We mostly we hug for 3 or 4 seconds. But to take that hug and feel that heart space, mm-hmm. feel that energy, feel their lungs as your lungs are filling, it's one of the most empowering feelings that you can get.
Mm-hmm. They say 20 seconds for a hug.
I think it was a little bit longer than 20 seconds.
Yeah, but so that you get
most
that
of us,
exchange.
I can't let you can't. In fact, I was like, I don't want to let go of this. Mm-hmm. You would feel it. It's like, you know what? This is what it's about.
Mm-hmm. So what could you say about those experiences and what you've gone through and where you're at now? Do you understand your purpose more now?
Yes.
Do you understand what it is that you're meant to do?
Yes.
Mm-hmm. So maybe you can share a little bit.
What I found is that one of the things that and anything that I do is the passion. Mm-hmm. And this passion towards life, because there was another incident of a near-death experience, and I'll talk about this one. And this wasn't an accident. This was a choice. I was at a point in my life where, after everything that I know, all the wisdom, all of the experiences, it broke me. It broke me to a point where that's it, enough, no more, no more hurt, no more breaking of trust, no more. I don't want it.
Just at that breaking point where you couldn't take it anymore.
I couldn't take it anymore. I just wanted out. And this goes back 3 years ago. And for those of you who have attempted suicide, I can understand what you go through. You know, you get to a point where you're lost. You've lost hope. You've lost everything. You don't believe in anything anymore. And many know I work with essential oils. And essential oils are, as beautiful as they are, they're also very lethal. They can kill. Okay. And many people don't understand this. And I took 60 ml of therapeutic essential oils and I swallowed it. It should have burned my esophagus. It should have shut down all my organs. It should have done everything. It should have been, there's no point of return. So my point of return was it made me go to the washroom for 3 weeks straight. Every day I flushed as if it was an open tap. It didn't do any damage to my internal organs, and it should have. It should have shut down my internal organs.
I mean, that just tells you that your presence is looking after you angelically, the Kris, whatever it is, and that you do have something you're meant to do. And you haven't done it yet, so you're not going anywhere, right? so you know,
this lady
need him to get to do what he's supposed to do.
This
right?
lady is unbelievable, and I have to credit a great deal of Kris for who she is. She has brought strength to me. She has brought a great deal of openness to my stubbornness, okay, and my willingness to, you know, back off from this headstrong sense that I have. And it's not easy because I've gone throughout all of my life like this. I've never reached out for somebody to help. And now I'm finding that I'm still reluctant, but I'm embracing it more.
Well, you know you're safe, right?
Oh,
yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. That's an important part about Clarity, and why I started Clarity too was so that people, no matter what they were going through, would have a safe space to come to and feel that they weren't going crazy, that they were okay, that there was someone to hold space for them. So yeah, I get all kinds. So
one of the things that I've found is that people they'll reach out to me in many ways, and many of the things that I say, I don't really have a thought. It just flows. So my words, my phrases, my, you know, everything, like when I do the lives and I talk to people, it's like if you ask me what I said, I don't recall.
That's the consciousness being with you.
That's the consciousness and the channeling and any word that we want to use or whatever label we want to put on it. I know that what's being said, somewhere along the line, it's planted a seed. And it's planted this seed of hope. And what I learned from my last experience of that near death is that my vulnerability was my power. To embrace that vulnerability of self in the sense that I can cry. And you have no right to judge me to cry. You have no right to say you can't cry because you're a man.
Well, wait a minute. They can do whatever they
like,
but it's all about what you do with it. It's
that's my stubbornness.
It's right. It's all about what we choose to do with it.
Yeah.
We can internalize that judgment. We can internalize what they're sending to us, or we can simply, like Kris, love them and say, okay, you be you, you do you, and I'll see you on the other side. Like,
oh, I've said that a number of times. You know, it's like, you don't believe in the other side. I'll be there waiting to welcome you.
So when you had this other experience of taking the oils,
Yeah.
was there again someone speaking to you and
Yes.
telling you
Yes.
that
And
you were going to be okay?
this time I was in between.
Mhm.
Okay. It was more into this moment of darkness. It was like I was going, but I wasn't going. I was in between. And all it was said is that, nope, not yet.
Time. Yeah.
Yeah. Nope, not yet.
Yes.
And it's like, I
Yeah.
don't want to use this word.
You can't use it.
I can't use this word. There is a word I want to use, but I can't.
Yeah.
Okay. And just, okay, fine.
Mhm.
Here I am back again. Surrender to it.
Mhm.
But now this time I'm in hospital ward.
Mhm.
Okay. And I was in there for 3 weeks working. Well, yeah, I was working. Because what they were trying to do was give me medications. And I fought. There was no way it was happening.
Mhm.
In fact, when it comes to vaccines, I've had one vaccine in my life.
Mhm.
That was for polio, and I refuse anything else.
Mhm.
I refuse pharmaceuticals. I refuse to even needles. Like, forget it. It's not going to happen.
But is that not part of your purpose? Because that's what you know is
Yes.
is nature, is Gaia,
Yes.
is essences, is
Yes.
that type of healing.
Yes.
And is that not probably what your mission is to step into?
Yes. Now I've
Yeah.
realized it.
Uh-huh.
I've realized that when I speak about the essences, it's not what a lot are understanding of. It's their medicines. They have the capacity to not just heal mind,
Mhm.
they can heal body, they can heal spirit.
Mhm.
They can open you to the essence of the purity of love of life,
Right.
because this is what life is. Everything around us is in a constant evolutionary change.
Mhm.
We are part of that.
Mhm.
And a majority of us don't grasp this connection to life. I connect to the flowers, I connect to the trees, I connect to the birds, the bees, the animals, the aves, all of this. I can feel their freedom, their willingness, their powers and their voices.
But is that not probably coming from these near-death experiences and the gifted
Yes.
gifts that
Now I
Christ
see
has
it.
given you?
Now I
Right?
see it.
And you see it as a gift rather than as a curse, where you were
Yeah,
little, you were
it was a
afraid
curse.
of it. Yeah, exactly. Like, isn't that how we all feel about our gifts? Like when we're going through stuff, it feels like a curse, but once you figure out what it is you're supposed to do with it,
Yeah.
then it becomes a blessing, and
Yeah.
it becomes a blessing for those other people that you reach out to and help. Right?
Yes.
Yeah.
And the reception of that gift, when you're not speaking to others in the sense of, I'm going to heal you. I'm not a healer. And many people say, Gary, you're a healer. No, you heal yourself.
Mhm.
I help curate that path.
Mhm.
I curate a path through the essences, through the verbos, through the acceptance of who you are. And regardless of it, I say it a million times over, regardless of color, creed, language, walk of life, where you live, you have a heart, you have a soul,
Mhm.
you have the capacity to love. So why do you want to hate? Why do you want to judge? Why do you want to be in this program?
That's like a whole nother topic. That we could get into, but I think we'll wrap it up. And is there anything that you would want to tell somebody who's had a near-death experience, to help encourage them to either talk about it or to embrace their gift, or what would that be?
Reach out, speak about it. Don't be fearful of it. There's so many people out there that have had similar experiences or know of experiences like this. There is no science behind it. Science will try to say, well, we can analyze the brain waves and all of this, and it's not science. This is heart. This is your spirit within. Believe in it, because there's a beautiful place that awaits us all. And don't try and get there faster.
Because they won't let you.
They won't let you.
Exactly.
You don't have, if there's one thing that I learned from all of it, and particularly in my own experience of wanting to take my own life, is that I don't have the right to do that. I don't have the right to take my life and induce suffering upon others. that nobody has the right to do that.
Yeah, it's the people you leave behind.
It's the people you leave behind. If you get yourself to that point where you're broken, reach out. There's people that'll listen to you. There's people that'll welcome you. There's people that have the same stories of understandings of your emotions. Don't fear it. Don't fear your emotions.
Well, thank you, Gary. I really appreciate you coming on and sharing that. And hopefully it has opened some people's eyes or hearts or whatever that is, that you find help, that you know that you can share. We're open here at Clarity always for people to come in. And I just want to say next week at 9 o'clock on Tuesday, I'm going to be having Daphne McDonough, who has also had near-death experience, which she is going to share. And I thank you very much for wanting to come on as well. So watch over the next about 6 weeks, and we'll be doing one every Tuesday morning at 9 a.m. And I welcome you tomorrow to join me at 9:30. And I'm going to have Hartwell Downey with me, who we're going to be talking about human design and the 4 different types and their auras. So if you're interested in human design, want to know a little bit more, then join me tomorrow morning at 9:30. And so from us here, we'll just say, have a great day. Bless you all.